We're underwhelmed by the support that we're getting from outside the state. We've been disappointed in the execution of some of the promises.
The state's ongoing struggle to recover from a crippling autumn nor'easter. Even the governor is expressing concerns with the power restoration efforts. News 8 has your back with team coverage. People are freezing, families, including children. There's clearly massive need to get the power back on as fast as possible. Good evening, I'm Ann Nyberg. Welcome to a special edition of News 8 at 6.
And I'm Keith Kuntz, live at the Emergency Operations Center for CLMP, where it is buzzing tonight as well as it has been for the last 3 days. Now, the widespread power outages of obvious concern here and everybody in the state. Want to give you the very latest numbers we have on the number of power and 60,000 people out of power at this point. United Illuminating has more than 1,700 customers currently out of power. The power companies are facing a couple of big problems. The first problem they're facing is that they're having a hard time getting to a lot of locations because there are so many trees down around the state. We've had about 5 times more trees down during this nor'easter than we had during Hurricane Irene. And also then once they get to these locations, then they have to deal with the problems with the wires. I want to bring in Katie Blint now from Connecticut Light and Power, and I have to ask you, the question we're getting over and over again is, why is this taking so long? We've still got hundreds of thousands of people still without power.
Well, the extraordinary tree damage that we've experienced has done more damage to our transmission system than any previous storm. And to get those transmission lines up, the ones that come from the power plants to our substations, is priority work and very specialized work. And that's really getting the source of the power back before we can start stringing wires on poles.
Okay, so are you doing anything more now? I mean, what are you doing at this point to try to make the process work a little better?
Well, we've had 32 transmission lines go down. We've been successful in getting 14 back. We had 4 substations out, and we've only got 2 now. So we've made some excellent progress during the day with 700, nearly 800 crews and excellent weather. So I think we're making some substantial progress.
The governor indicated he is very unhappy with the response from out-of-state crews to Connecticut's emergency. What's CLMP's point of view?
You know, we're going to be continually, aggressively looking for mutual aid, but the crews that are here, and they're here from as far as Quebec, you know, Colorado we're seeing, and they're doing a fantastic job. And especially the crews that have come from out of state are great resources to us, and we're going to have even more by the end of the week.
All right, Katie Blink, we appreciate it. And that's the situation going on right now. They're working hard, but they have a long, long way to go. Of course, we're waiting for a live news conference with Governor Malloy. Back to you.
All right, Keith, thank you so much. We've been telling you, and the governor's been telling you, that it might be a week, at least a week, until the power gets on. There are still trees down everywhere, and hotels around the state are jammed, not with just individuals, but with families. Let's go live now to the State Armory and Governor Dannel Malloy.
Thank you for being here. We're going to do this in a slightly different order. We're going to lead with reports from the 2 utilities, but let me say to the people of Connecticut, I know that they're frustrated. I'm frustrated as well. I know that they're losing patience, so am I. I've made it clear to the utility companies that we need more crews. I've made it clear to the federal government that we need more crews, and we're starting to see a response to that. I want to be very clear. I'm not interested in excuses or apologies. What we need is action, and we are moving in that direction. I want to also assure the citizens of the state of Connecticut that we will continue the work of the post-Irene committee to encompass this, a study of this what happened here with the winter storm, and I'm going to ask the chairs of that committee to accept that responsibility so that it can be seamless and we can put the 2 events together and respond accordingly. Obviously, we will have learned quite a bit in a relatively short period of time. With that, I'll ask Bill Reese from United Illuminating, followed by Jeff Butler from CLMP to give their reports, and then I have a lot of information to share after they've given their reports.
Thank you, Governor. United Illuminating has restored approximately 50,000 customers approximately 1,800 customers are still without power, and we expect customers back by midnight tonight, and will work throughout the night to restore and all known customer outages. We encourage our customers to call UI if they still have an outage after 9 p.m. tonight at 800-722-5584. We currently have approximately 184 crews working in the field. That's comprised of line crews of 81, tree crews of 24, patrollers 18, wires down 32, and service crews 29. UI plans to release on Wednesday afternoon available UI line construction crews to CL&P and contractor line construction and line clearance crews to restore power in other regions. We would like to again thank our customers for their patience during these difficult times, and our employees and contractors for their tireless efforts in restoring power to our customers. Thank you, and now I will turn it over to Jeff for his update.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. I'd like to actually start off by addressing some reports that I've seen talking about Massachusetts versus Connecticut and where they're at. One of the things I've been reporting for the last 2 days is line crews and tree crews. And when you read many of the reports, they're talking about far greater. You just heard United Illuminating talk about tree crews, patrollers, things like that. So let me put it in perspective. Currently, CL&P has 493 crews on the property. We have line crews. We have 407 tree crews, 20 service crews, which will be increasing as we get power back into the various areas of the state. We have 187 patrol crews, and we have 300 wires down crews. So for a total, when you're comparing two-person crews, we have 1,407 two-person crews on the property here for Connecticut Light and Power. In addition, as United Illuminating just mentioned, they have 184. So when you look at Connecticut, we have 1,594 two-person crews responding to the emergency in this state. Putting that in perspective, Massachusetts, we're roughly Massachusetts is just a little bit less than 2 times the size of Connecticut. So we're putting a total response to get our customers restored as quickly as possible. Not included in that number is an additional 55 5-person crews that we have working to address the transmission issues here in Connecticut. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that when you're putting numbers out there, that you're comparing the same numbers. And we actually researched when we heard some of the numbers being made to ensure that when you're comparing our numbers, they're the same total makeup of the restoration effort as any other utility is making. With that, what I'd like to move on to and give you a quick storm update. Primarily this time, we have focused, which is according to our emergency plan, on the public health and safety issues, make safe and road clearing, assessing damage to the system, and then restoration of critical customers, and then the restoration of transmission facilities. We've made substantial progress in these areas, and as such, with the addition of crews that we're adding and have arrived today and more arriving tomorrow, we're shifting to a greater focus on restoration. And with that, we'll continue to look at critical customers, certainly town centers in the hard-hit towns. We'll trying to get those services back. We fully understand that the fuel issue here in Connecticut is significant, gasoline, but also grocery stores, pharmacies, those types of things. And then looking at where is the work we can get done to get the greatest number of customers restored the quickest. So that we expect to see a significant increase in restoration rates as we shift and continue to move forward. So we have wrapping up the patrols and assessment of our entire system, which is roughly 18,000 miles of overhead line. We've already provided restoration projections to 50 towns. We will finalize and have all 149 towns we serve cleaned up by tomorrow. We're just a little more on the crews. I mentioned where we're at today. Tomorrow we actually expect to have 637 line crews. We'll maintain the same tree crews for a total of 1,034, and I expect to see the crew numbers continue to ramp up as we move through the week. So with that, I will turn it back over to the Governor.
All right, I want to go over a lot of information from the top. Carbon monoxide. We've had another death as a result of carbon monoxide. This one appears to have been truly accidental in the sense of a malfunction of a generator that was designed to ventilate out. Apparently the muffler became loose and therefore the carbon monoxide was not exiting the residence. But it is a reminder that this is perhaps one of our greatest challenges. 135 people have been seen over the last few days for carbon monoxide poisoning in 19 area acute care emergency rooms across the state.
What time was that, please, Governor?
I'm sorry, the death was the second death on the Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. We are seeing a spike in emergency calls and Poison Control Center calls for carbon monoxide poisoning. And again, I want to reiterate, change the batteries on your CO detectors if you have not done that recently. Do not use gas grills in the house, portable generators in the house, and if you're charging your cell phones with the car, make sure the car is outside the garage, not inside the garage. Fire hazards, use caution around open flames and common sense precautions. Ensure electric appliances are off as power is being restored. Appliances are coming back on automatically. So double check that your stoves, toasters, ovens, and other appliances are off. There was a possibility that a fire was started as a result of someone being absent from a house when the power went back on. It's possible that the stove then ignited something in the area. Shelters. We're now up to over 118 shelters are open across the state. Over 53 warming centers and charging stations are operational. If you are going to a shelter or a warming station, remember to take your medications with you. And if you can bring your own bedding, that's extremely helpful. Blankets, sheet, or a bag, a sleeping bag, and a pillow would all be appreciated. Fuel. 211 has a list of open fuel stations, but let me summarize. As of about 40 minutes ago, we had 1,109 fueling stations, gas stations, open in the state. That's up from 760 yesterday. And deliveries are, in fact, being made. I will point out to you that from time to time, a drawdown at a given station may be so rapid that there's a delay in the refueling of that station, but that simply means that a lot of gas is getting delivered at the moment. Roads, 31 state roads are fully closed. Well, I should say closed in part, but neither lane is operational. That's down from about 200 to 150 to 100, now 31, and we believe that by tomorrow all of those state roads can be operational. Rail, Danbury Rail Line is operating on bus service, but it is anticipated to reopen tomorrow afternoon. So you may be taking a bus in the morning and be able to take your train in the afternoon. The Waterbury Line is also operating on buses and is not slated to reopen until Thursday. Buses, no change. Still some delays and cancellations of routes in Waterbury. Everything else seems to be running appropriately. Bradley, no real change. Flights are getting out. Flights are getting in. We believe buildings are in the process of being restored. That's what I was just reported to me shortly before I came out. So they're moving from on-site generation to grid accumulation of power. Wireless, Connecticut has 3,100 wireless sites. This morning, 35% of them were down. We're now down to 29% of them down. Generators and refueling, generator application and refueling of those generators is taking place. So we believe that we can stay on top of that, or that I should say the wireless operators can stay on top of that, having turned a bit of a corner, and they're accumulating additional generating facilities. The Department of Insurance has information on their website to help consumer file claims, including important phone numbers. They have over 5,600 emergency adjusters licensed, and we have extended the licenses that were granted to adjusters as a result of the Irene incident for an additional 90 days. So in the case of actual property damage, there are certainly enough adjusters, public adjusters, to handle that. I didn't get a chance to visit Danbury today, but I was happy to visit one center. I will visit several centers tomorrow, and as will the Lieutenant Governor, and we'll get you more information on that. A traffic note of importance here. If you go to a four-way stop and the light is out, everybody stop and then take your turns. I guess it's to your right to allow traffic to move through that intersection. I think some people have forgotten what their protocol is. We're asking people to be aware of that and make sure they're giving chances for traffic to move through that intersection appropriately. Let's see, Thursday, November 3rd, here's a news item for you, is the deadline for residents and businesses to register with FEMA for assistance as a result of Irene. Now, with that, I'd be happy to take some questions from everybody.
Mr. Butler, back to the podium, please.
Sure.
First, not to...
Sure.
That's a lot of information, but I think there's more information needed from CL&P. Jeffrey, if you wouldn't mind. Regarding that number of 1,000 or whatever that you mentioned, how many of those are out-of-town, out-of-state contractors? How many are you expecting? And can you address the frustration that the governor has mentioned about us being underwhelmed by not getting the kind of help here that we thought we were going to get? And can you additionally address a story that's going around the internet, which I'm sure you've heard, that the reason you've had trouble getting crews coming here is because you haven't paid your bill for Irene for the out-of-town crews. I'm sure you've heard all of this already.
I've heard bits and pieces. As far as the line crews, we have 172 line crews. So as I mentioned, total line crews on the property today, including that 172, is 493.
So the 192 are
Out
out-of-town?
of the 493, 172 of them are CL&P crews, and this is talking about the distribution.
So the balance is all from out-of-town?
That's
from out-of-state, okay.
And as we go through the week, we expect to have, and each of these includes 172 CL&P crews, 627 line crews tomorrow, 777 on Thursday, and 837 on Friday. And we continue to have an outstanding open request for an additional 300-plus outside line crews. And we are, been looking since last Friday for crews to come in and support the restoration effort.
How many people?
And this is-
What about the allegation that you hadn't paid the bill on the
I
ones that
actually
came
heard
last
that comment regarding, from one person or one company that actually represents 3 companies. I followed up on that. 2 of them had been paid, or 2 invoices have been paid yesterday, and my understanding is that the last one is paid tomorrow. There's a process from when they get the invoice, we review to ensure that all the costs are prudent. We release the invoice and it's paid.
And those were paid in 30 days? I mean, the CL&P sends you out a red notice in the mail if you don't pay in 30 days. Did you pay all these bills in 30 days?
I don't know the specifics of when they have. That's less than 60 days from the last event. I don't know when we received their invoice.
I see.
We reviewed the expenditures to make sure they were prudent, and we paid the invoices.
And they were paid today?
And we always try to pay our bills according to our contract.
Has that
Absolutely.
been an issue in getting out-of-state crews to come?
I'm not aware that it has been. I'm not aware that it has been. Like I say, I just heard that rumor this afternoon. I verified with the company that I heard, and their invoices, 2 of them have been paid. The last one will be paid tomorrow.
How much money are we talking here on these 3 invoices?
That I don't know.
Millions of dollars?
I do not know.
How many people are out of money because you guys didn't pay them on time?
I don't even know how many crews they provided us last time. So it's certainly an item I can follow up on and provide specific information.
When did you ask for outside crews this time? At what point during the storm?
We began prior to the storm. As we got the more specific forecast, especially as it shifted from the forecast we'd heard Thursday to more intense on Friday, is when we were looking for mutual aid crews.
And how do you do that? How many do you go out and ask Edison to get you 50 crews on standby?
We actually are part of 2 different mutual aid groups, one being the New England Mutual Aid Group and one being the Northeast, and we actually work with both those mutual aid groups to identify additional resources. We also, because we do have a strong relationship with some contractors, we also work with those contractors to bring crews in. And right now, virtually all the crews we have here are contractor crews.
Are you paying less than people in Massachusetts?
I'm not sure what you're...
are you paying these out-of-state crews?
We have
less
more
than
out-of-state
other-
crews than probably most others.
Are they not getting the premium payment, though?
We pay according to their contracts.
But you own the Western Massachusetts Electric Company, and some of those Western Massachusetts communities were hit almost as bad as here. So you can't bring any of them down.
Unlike in Irene, where we were able to bring in earlier both our from both our sister utilities, Western Massachusetts Electric Company as well as Public Service of New Hampshire, both of those utilities all have significant damage. As they wrap up and have resource available, we will be bringing resources down from both those organizations to support our restoration as well. And as I said earlier, we're looking continuously to bring more resources. I would be remiss that I didn't address our customers' issues. I know our customers are extremely frustrated. Unlike Irene, it's much more challenging. It's cold at night. In some cases, it's beyond challenging. It's very difficult for our customers. We recognize the frustration. We're a utility. We're here to serve customers, and that's something that I take a lot of pride in. It's not a pleasure to have customers out of power, and we will continue to strive and achieve everything we can to get our customers restored as quickly as possible.
After these two storms, are you going to give any thought to perhaps maybe we should have more than 172 line crews as opposed to relying on 321 contractor crews? I mean.
Well, we will end up, I believe at this event, we will end up in over 1,000 line crews once again, as we did in Irene. And we continually look at our staffing. And how do you, when we still here in this state have some of the highest energy rates in the nation, energy bills. So it is something we continue to look at is the cost of doing business. Every business does.
Jeff,
cost of energy is critical to our state's economic well-being.
Jeff, yesterday at this time you talked about
13 critical transmission lines that were damaged. You had at that point, at this time yesterday, an estimate that 6 would be resolved overnight, 6 more today, the final one Wednesday. Are we still on pace for that?
Actually, we're a little bit ahead of that. My understanding, checking with before I came down, was that we were in the process, as the governor mentioned, switching things back to normal at Bradley at the airport, which will also pick up the other area around it. We're switching another substation in. I believe that leaves us with one that is still without power that will be restored before the end of shift tonight.
How many people were restored today?
I don't know that number.
How many people will be restored tomorrow? You got all these line crew numbers, but you can't tell us how many people were restored today?
I know how many we've restored to date. That's the number I track. We have 650,000 customers out of power. We've restored over 275 to date. My focus isn't what we've restored. My focus is getting the 650,000 customers we have out of power, getting their service restored. That is my first priority and one I focus on 24 hours a day. We will have all those restoration projections in the system. We're still shooting to have 99% of our customers restored sometime Sunday.
So you still think that's achievable?
That's what we're pushing for, and I'll bring whatever crews in necessary as they're available to meet that
target. That's what you're pushing for, but is it realistic?
Yes, it is.
With the kind of damage that we have, you really think so?
I absolutely believe it is. One of the things as we've done our assessments, even though the damage, as everybody's indicated, is much more widespread than we saw even in Irene, we're fortunate so far that we have not seen the number of poles down that we saw in Irene. It's more cross-arm, the wooden cross-arm that holds the wires, that type of damage, wires down. So I don't see us in the situation where we have nearly the number of poles. Either the joint pole owners, AT&T in this case, would be replacing ourselves. So even though there's more work, more trouble spots, some of the damage, at this point, everything I've seen is not as extensive as some of the damage we saw in Irene.
So do we have an estimate of the damage? Do we have the estimate either, Governor, do we know property damage estimates? Do we know?
We had a discussion.
All right, we've been listening to about 20 minutes now of a press briefing from the governor and utilities. And long story short, folks, this is catastrophic. We've got to work together to help each other in this state. We just heard 650,000 people, CL&P customers, are still without power. UI has 1,800 still. They've restored 50,000 people. The governor, as you just heard, is holding the utilities' feet to the fire to get folks back online.